You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. I never do that. What is it, 6:17 a.m.? This is how I wake up. Well, first of all, I wake up and I work out. But then I just get ready to, I am fired up for a Power Rankings Tuesday, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker. Most of you know that. Former NFL offensive lineman, 7 years, 2001 to 2008. Now I do games for CBS and Westwood One. Got a bunch of different podcasts. Today is the Even Money Betting Podcast, Tuesday. Maybe our most popular show, believe it or not, now on a per episode basis. Hopefully you checked out the College Draft Podcast yesterday. Emery and I went through every single college football conference championship game. We got the Fantasy Feast coming up the next couple days with Joe Dolan, helping you guys win your leagues. And by the way, I always say this, but Even Money and Fantasy Feast, just two really interesting different ways in my mind of looking at the NFL. I mean, we're still talking about the NFL. It's just a little bit different way to look at it. We do give out Patrons of the Day shout outs every day today. It is PJ Blasing, Blaesing. Welcome to the family, PJ. Patreon.com/RTmedia. That's patreon.com/RTmedia. You get to be part of the private Tuckheads Slack channel with me and the gang. We will have a Spread the Word winner, a sponsor confirmation email winner, and a YouTube shout-out winner later on in the week. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross. In a game that happened that we had the pleasure to watch, the Bears won by kicking 4 field goals and nothing else, 12-10.
This game had less points than my world-famous Iowa-Nebraska Black Friday game. That's hard to do. And that was the lowest total in the history of maybe the sport of football, because it was definitely college football. And then I think college would be lower than NFL. It might have been the lowest total in the history of the sport of American football. And yet, Bears-Vikings scored less. Rough game. And I'll say this too, Jack, there was some good defense, right? Like Brian Flores always comes up with some unique schemes and does a good job of confusing quarterbacks and getting in the heads of offensive coordinators. And I think he absolutely did that. So I give Flores some credit to that. And the Bears. The Bears did some positive things. Montez Sweat had a sack and a half, and he had 6 pressures. That looks like a good trade and a good signing right now. But, man, early in the game, it felt like everything was going well for the Bears. Like, they moved the ball their first couple drives. Jalen Johnson gets a pick. They're still up 3-0. Cairo Santos missed a field goal, and they couldn't do anything after that. I mean, that was like textbook Bears to have so many things going well, and they're up 3-0. It was 3-3, like, for a long time. And the Bears, it didn't seem to me like they had early in the game a really good plan for the Vikings blitz packages. It seemed like Fields was kind of a deer in the headlights, trying to make guys miss and make plays. And a couple times it worked. Most of the time it didn't. And then after that, they thought, let's just throw wide receiver screen after wide receiver screen. I mean, it was like Getsy thought Flores was coming with the all-out blitz every play and was hoping he could just hit one of them right for a touchdown. Never happened. What did happen, Jack, is Josh Dobbs is getting worse. Why does this happen to him? This happened in Arizona too. He goes somewhere, and when he doesn't know the offense and is just free willy out there, he plays awesome. But then it's like the more he knows about the offense and the more he's thinking about things, the worse he plays. 4 interceptions. And maybe one of them is on Jordan Addison, but 4 interceptions for the Pastronaut. Back-to-back losses that the Vikings just couldn't have, especially at home against the Bears. I mean, you can maybe understand on the road at Denver. Okay, you lose by a point. You cannot lose at home to this iteration of the Chicago Bears. Cannot happen. Dobbs getting worse, like I said. Fields fumbling like it was his job, struggled, but he did throw he had a couple nice balls, but including that one to DJ Moore for the game-winning field goal. I didn't realize that's the first NFC North win for Matt Eberflus, which is pretty wild when you think about it. Bears 12, Vikings 10. They both have a bye, but if you want to try to get tickets to see these teams play the week after that, it's all about the Game Time app. Huge fan because you can see from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You buy the tickets in seconds with two taps. And then, of course, the Game Time guarantee is the key for me. Well, actually, the key for me is being able to do it by location and see what events are in the area. But the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account and redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
All right, Ross, we'll start 32nd, Carolina Panthers.
Big day for Carolina yesterday. First, they fire head coach Frank Reich. They don't even give him a year. They don't even give him a year. But I guess on some level, if you've already made up your mind, like their owner clearly has, it's like, what are you waiting for, right? Move on. He can start working on who his next hire will be. He can see if firing Frank Reich makes any difference for the rest of this year or if it's more just the personnel. And he tabbed Chris Tabor as the interim head coach. Tabor's done this before. I forget, maybe the Browns he was interim head coach for once, but he's done this before. And then Tabor promptly fired Deuce Staley and Josh McCown, which I thought was interesting. Maybe he felt like they were Frank Reich guys, or maybe it's because both Deuce Staley and Josh McCown have been mentioned previously as head coaching candidates, and maybe Tabor didn't think that they would be happy at being assistants behind him because they might think that they should have been the head coach. But wow. I mean, I thought they had like a superstar team here, a superstar coaching staff, I should say. And I think that's true. I think David Tepper spent a lot of money to get this coaching staff, and yet here they are firing them all over the place.
31st, New England Patriots.
Unreal. Just unreal. Definitely the lowest they've ever been. Although they were 31st earlier in the year, I guess, before they got a win against the Bills, maybe. But they're bad. They're bad. It's hard to believe how far this franchise has fallen. And at some point, we got to talk about, it's pretty bad, I think, for Belichick's legacy. I think it's a bad look that Brady leaves and they systemically get worse and worse and worse to the point where they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, if he was the best coach of all time, I kind of feel like they'd be better than this.
30th, Arizona Cardinals.
That was a disappointing loss, I thought, for them. Kyler came back. They got a win. Then they were right there with the Texans. Now to have the Rams come to their place and just totally destroy them like that, I thought that was kind of a bad look, I would say, for Arizona and Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray and what they're trying to do.
29th is the Bears.
The Bears. I mean, I guess I moved them up 2 spots. 2 solid efforts. They probably should have beat the Lions. They did beat the Vikings. They're still bad, though. I don't know. Maybe they should be ahead of the Jets.
Speaking of which, 28th, the Jets.
don't even know what to say. I mean, Jets, 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 Jets. Feel bad for their fans. That's where I'm at with it. I just feel bad for their fans. Because now the defense is even like wilting.
Staying in New York, we'll move 27th with Tommy and the Giants.
Tell you what, is that a couple wins in a row for Tommy and the boys?
Pretty sure it is.
Tommy and the boys, man. Dude, you know what I love about Tommy DeVito? He and his family, like they're full throttle with all of the Italian stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're going all in. Like they lean, like they love it. They love it. They're leaning all in on it. I love it. Like, be who you are, man. Be who you are.
26 is the Cincinnati Bengals.
So this is one of my least favorite things about football. Really any sport, but like it's just a lost season now for them. Like I thought they had a great chance to go to the Super Bowl before the season. Even after the slow start with Burrow and the calf, I still thought they had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Let me just tell you right now, they're not going to go to the Super Bowl.
Hot take. 25th, Commanders.
Hail to the Commanders. That was a good song. Fight for old DC. I like that. Dun, 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 dun. Loved it. That was one of the cool things about playing down there. So they fired Del Rio and some position coach. I don't know if I said this yesterday, Jack. Probably didn't, because we probably didn't talk about the Commanders. But they fired their D coordinator, Jack Del Rio. Ron Rivera did him like a major favor. Major favor. Ron Rivera's getting fired anyway. So why not let Del Rio just chill for the rest of the season?
24th, Tennessee Titans.
They got to win. I appreciate Levis being upset that he said capitulate instead of matriculate after the game. That's what happens, by the way, Will, when you try to use fancy words. When you try to use big, unnecessary words, sometimes you showcase that you don't really know them that well, and you say the wrong one. So just word to the wise. I know a lot of big words, too. I don't use them on the show because I'm not trying to impress people with my intelligence. Not that Will Levis is, but the whole purpose of language is to communicate. So if you go out of your way to use bigger words that some of your audience or the people listening won't understand, what the heck are we doing?
Thoroughly placed at 23rd, standing so studiously as Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Nice, nice. Don't you understand what I'm saying, though, Jack? Like, there's people that you can tell they go out of their way when they write something or they're talking to, like sometimes I can tell when people are writing something and they literally had a thesaurus out, and instead of using a regular word, they chose like a fancier word that says something similar. I think that's a terrible trait. I really do. It's like you're trying to impress people or be someone you're not. What would be the point if I used a word that some of you guys didn't know on purpose? Like what's the advantage gained there? Anyway, for the Bucks stops here. They're going to end up being what I thought they'd be. You know what? I take that back. They've actually been a little bit better than I thought they'd be, and they'll win 7 games this year, and they'll be 7-10 and whatever.
22nd, Chargers.
San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Chargers. Go. Chargers. Go. Well, that guy's fired. Well, we could go through this list, actually. We're getting to the point where it's like a lot of these coaches are not going to be back. A lot. Including Brandon Staley. He's as good as gone. Unless they win the rest of their games, he's gone.
20th, Green Bay Packers.
Oh, I adjusted this and I have the Packers 19, Saints 20. Sorry.
Oh, messing with me. 21st, New Orleans Saints.
Oh, no, you just skipped them, huh?
Yeah, I did I slid down a little too much on my.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I hadn't updated it for you. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very winnable division for the Saints. And add Dennis Allen to the list of guys that'll get fired if the Saints don't win that NFC South. There's no reason why they shouldn't win that division.
Now we'll go to the Green Bay Packers at 20.
Well, I'm glad we are, because the Packers are the team I'm riding with, brought to you by Wrangler. Made for the ride of life. Save 15% on your first Wrangler.com order with promo code ROSS15. It was looking bleak earlier in the year. I mean, real bleak. Packers were losing. Jordan Love wasn't looking good. And it was looking like they might have a total blow up on their hands. But now, they stuck with it like the Packers often do. Stayed the course. Jordan Love playing much better. They've got all rookies and second-year guys everywhere. And you can see it now, right? Like, you can see the path to the playoffs, maybe not this year, but the path to being a consistent winner again in Green Bay.
19th is the Atlanta Falcons.
They kind of have their formula. I would really like to see Arthur Smith one of these years. This is year 3 for him now. I like to see him with like a top 20 quarterback. Doesn't have to be top 10, not even top 15. Just give him like a top 20 quarterback.
18th is the Raiders.
The Raiders. Boy, they made moves, huh? They're not messing around. They cut Marcus Peters, who I guess was due to on pace to get $1.5 million in incentives and played bad the game before. And then they cut that Roderick Teamer, who got a DUI in the morning of the game. I find it so hard to believe he was going to suit up for the game. There's no way a guy was going to suit up for the game. They have curfews. Like, I don't even know how that happened. That he still must have skipped curfew, which is probably why he got cut. I forgot to mention, by the way, when we were talking about the Saints, Marshawn Lattimore on IR. I forgot that one. I forget when they did that, but that's big. I mean, he's probably their best defensive player.
As mentioned earlier in the show, Minnesota Vikings, who are 17th.
The Minnesota Vikings. Man, it's just unbelievable how big just that Bears game was. Just winning one of those two. And supposedly they're going to reevaluate now the quarterback position, which, man, Josh Dobbs. It's just, we talked about it earlier. I don't know how that happens. Like, I don't know how the more he's familiar with an offense, the worse he gets, it seems like.
16th, Indianapolis Colts.
How about the Colts being 16th? How about a tip of the cap for Jonathan Gannon? I think how many games in a row have they won? Like 3 maybe?
I don't know, but Shane Steichen, you got a misspell.
Yeah. Tip of the cap for Shane Steichen. Thank you for the save there, Jack. Thinking ex-Eagles coaches. But the Colts are now 6-5, and they've won 3 in a row with their backup quarterback. It's pretty darn good. Shane Steichen.
15th is the Rams.
Another team that you got to be feeling pretty good about if you're a fan right now. I'm feeling better about them making the playoffs than the Vikings. So the Rams and the Packers are on the upswing, whereas it feels like the Vikings and the Seahawks are on the downswing. Rams and Packers have both won a couple in a row. Vikings and Seahawks have both lost a couple in a row.
14th, Cleveland Browns.
So that quarterback situation is one to monitor, especially with DTR. Jack having these being in concussion protocol. There's some thought that it might be Flacco this week. That'll just look weird. Joe Flacco in a Browns uniform will just look weird. But they need competent quarterback play, and they need to get a win.
13th, Seattle Seahawks.
So the Seahawks lost a couple in a row. Haven't really looked good in doing it, right? I mean, they've kind of, in fact, looked real bad. And they don't have an easy schedule coming up. I know they play the Eagles in a couple weeks here. They got to get this thing turned around and fast.
12th is Houston Texans.
Texans picked up a guy yesterday, Derek Barnett, the former Eagles first-round pick. Picked him up off of waivers. By the way, just another example of like why the Eagles are smart. They redid Barnett's contract before they put him on waivers so that he would get claimed instead of going unclaimed. Since he gets claimed, now they're off the hook for the remaining salary for him for the rest of the year. It's the little things, Jack, the little things.
11th, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Boy, feels like a bad year for the NFL if this Steelers team's the 11th best team, isn't it? I mean, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. But you got to be feeling a lot better about them if you're a Steelers fan now that they got rid of Canada and they're scoring points like this.
At one point, they were 31st in the rankings. Now they're 10th. Denver Broncos.
Yeah, by Steelers scoring points, I meant getting yards because they didn't really score very many points. Broncos are on an absolute tear. You got to feel awesome about them right now if you're a Broncos fan because it's like we got the coach. Like no matter what, they know they got the coach. 5 wins in a row. Feels like a team that's going to sneak into the playoffs somehow now.
9th is Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. So they lost, but I still think they're one of the 10 best teams. I still think they're pretty good. Still think they have a shot at the playoffs, but their schedule is rough, man. Rough. They lost too many games that they needed to win.
8th is Detroit Lions.
Lions are dropping. I mean, they should have lost to the Bears. Then they kind of get handled by the Packers at home on Thanksgiving. Not a good look. Just like when the clock stops on this podcast, it's not a good look if you guys don't order in with DoorDash. Pizza cravings hit at halftime, ordering time. You want tacos? Taco Tuesday? Boom, they're on your doorstep. Wait, you want burgers, which I'll probably get tonight? Chips, dips, drinks, and wings instead? Even better. Order on DoorDash and get everything you want delivered without missing a minute of the game. Jack, you got to wash it down with something. The only thing I wash it down was with Labatt Blue Light. Delicious. Drink some Labatt Blue Lights with your friends. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
Did we talk about the Lions at 8? I've lost my placement here.
Yes.
7th, Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, number 7. So they got a win. It felt like a long time ago. And by the way, they got Jason Pierre-Paul off the Saints practice squad yesterday, Jack, because they need another edge rusher now that they lost Jalen Phillips for the year.
6th, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars suffered a big loss. Cam Robinson, their left tackle, going on IR. That's rough. That's going to hurt them because tackle was already not a position of strength for them.
5, Dallas Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? So I don't know who they play this week. Is this their bye? Maybe? No, they play Thursday night. They play Thursday night against somebody because they have extra rest before they play the Eagles. At any rate, Cowboys are hot right now. They're like Hansel. So hot right now. Playing really good. Do you know that reference, Jack?
I'm losing it. I've heard the reference.
Zoolander.
Yeah, okay.
Owen
Blue
Wilson.
Steel. Yeah, I've seen.
He always has music when he comes in, and Will Ferrell's like, Hansel. So hot right now. Hansel. So good.
So Dallas plays Seattle on Thursday night, but we'll move to the Ravens at 4.
That's a huge game. Ravens, look, it wasn't pretty, but they got it done out west. First game without Mark Andrews, and they're in pole position right now. I think they have a bye this week, but they're in first place in the AFC. That would be gigantic if they could get home field advantage. Just gigantic.
3, Kansas City Chiefs.
And the home of the Chiefs. Probably the most encouraging thing if you're a Chiefs fan is just the way they started to look offensively. You know, those first couple drives were rough, and then they went 3 touchdown drives in a row. They kind of shifted back into high gear.
2 was the 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers. So, how about that? The number 2 team in my power rankings plays on Sunday at the number 1 team in my power rankings. You want to talk about an epic battle. I can't wait.
Ross's number 1 team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
Of course, number 1, Philadelphia Eagles.
By far the best record in the NFL. I mean, who else would you put number 1 at this point? Although, who knows? The Niners go in there and whoop that you-know-what. I bet you these 2 teams will flip So that's what they're playing for, Jack. Forget the number one seed or home field advantage. They're playing for number one in the Ross Tucker Football Podcast Power Rankings. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out to myfrontpagestory.com. Guys, you literally talk to a writer or fill out an email in 5 minutes. Tell them how great your wife is, how great your husband is, how great your mom, your dad, whoever is. They write this unbelievable story all about them. It looks like it's on the cover of the newspaper. Framed pictures, beautiful. When they read the quotes from you, like I never thank her enough for all the little things she does around the house, they will cry. You will win. I'm telling you. myfrontpagestory.com. myfrontpagestory.com. What about backofficescheduler.com, go-bangles.com, steakhousesports.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, and Pizza Boy Brewing.